The November wind crawled through the skeletal trees, like fingers searching for warmth. On the edge of a small, forgotten town called Grayford, a girl sat curled against a rusted fence, her jacket too thin for the night. Across from her, half hidden in the shadows, a stray German shepherd watched. His ribs sharp, his fur matted, but his eyes fixed on her with a hunger deeper than food. When she whispered barely more than a breath, "Please don't leave me," something inside him shifted. And in that moment, a chain of events began, one that would shatter secrets, test loyalties, and haunt every soul in Grayford. If you're drawn in by stories where shadows breathe and loyalty becomes a weapon, you might want to follow along. There's more than one secret buried here. The freight train rattled past Grayford like a steel ghost, its whistle splitting the dark and stirring the stray dogs that prowl the town's edges. By the abandoned depot, Harper Lang crouched low, her arms wrapped around her knees, waiting for the ground to stop trembling. The tracks had always frightened her, but tonight she was too cold and too tired to care. She had run away 2 nights ago. Again, and this time she wasn't sure she'd go back. The shepherd appeared as if conjured from the night itself. His paws were silent on the dirt, his movements cautious. Harper froze, pulling the hood tighter around her head. She'd seen him before, a shadowy guardian drifting between alleys and trash bins, always alone. The townsfolk called him Cain, like the brother marked for violence in Scripture. Children whispered that he belonged to someone bad, someone who vanished without a trace. But when his amber eyes met hers, Harper didn't see violence. She saw recognition. "Hey," she murmured, her voice rough from cold. "You're not going to bite me, are you?" The shepherd tilted his head. His ribs shifted beneath his skin with every breath, yet he didn't retreat. Harper stretched her hand toward him, not expecting him to come closer. But he did, tentative. He pressed his damp nose against her fingers. She exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for hours. "Please don't leave me," she whispered, a plea she didn't mean to escape. Cain lay down beside her, a silent decision, as if he'd chosen her, or maybe recognized her loneliness for what it was. By morning, Grayford's quiet streets were painted in mist. The town never really woke, not the way cities did. It stirred reluctantly. The clink of coffee cups at the diner, the grind of an old truck engine refusing to die, the murmur of gossip exchanged at the general store. Harper tugged the shepherd along the gravel road, his head level with her hip. She tied a strip of her sleeve loosely around his neck, though Cain hardly needed it. He stayed close, as if tethered by something stronger than fabric. "You look like hell, Harper." The voice came from behind the gas pumps. Sheriff Eli Merrill leaned against a patrol car, his hat tilted low, a cigarette dangling from his fingers. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with a kind of face that suggested life had carved away softness years ago. Harper stopped, her stomach sinking. "I'm fine," she said. "You're out here barefoot, dragging around that stray like he's a leash-trained pet. That doesn't look like fine." Cain growled low, his hackles rising. Eli flicked the cigarette into the dirt and crushed it beneath his boot. "You should head home. Your uncle's been calling around." Harper's chest tightened. "I don't have a home." Eli studied her for a moment. There was something unreadable in his gaze, part pity, part calculation. Then he said quietly, "You do? You just don't like it." Before Harper could answer, Cain stepped forward, positioning himself between her and the sheriff. Eli raised a brow, but didn't move. "That dog's trouble." "No," Harper said quickly. He's with me now." The sheriff's lips curved, not quite a smile. "That's what they all say. Trouble follows trouble. Harper, you'd best remember that." By midday, Harper had settled behind the derelict train depot with Cain stretched at her side. She tore a stale biscuit in half, feeding him the larger piece. He ate gently, careful not to nip her fingers. She stroked his fur, untangling burrs, tracing the scars that crisscrossed his body. "Who did this to you?" she whispered. Cain closed his eyes, leaning into her touch. The depot creaked with the shifting wind. Somewhere inside was splintered, too sharp, too sudden. Harper sat up, her pulse quickening. Cain's ears pricked. His head swiveled toward the sound. The hairs along his spine bristled. "Hello?" Harper's voice echoed, then against the emptiness. No answer, only silence. Kane growled, deep and low, his body rigid. Harper wrapped her arms around him, whispering to calm him, though her own voice trembled. Then footsteps, slow, measured, coming closer from inside the depot. Harper's breath caught. She wanted to run, but Kane didn't move, and leaving him wasn't an option. The shadows inside shifted, and out stepped a man. His clothes were grimy, his beard unkempt, but his eyes glinted sharp beneath the mess. Well, he rasped, his gaze sliding over Harper before settling on Kane. "Didn't think I'd see him again." Harper clutched Kane's scruff. "Who are you?" The man smirked, revealing a chipped tooth. "Name's Roy." "That dog, he ain't yours." "He's mine." Kane bared his teeth, a guttural snarl vibrating through him. Roy's smirk faded. "Guess he remembers me." Harper's voice shook. "He doesn't want to go with you." "That ain't his choice," Roy snapped, stepping closer. "Or yours." Kane lunged forward, stopping only because Harper held him back. Roy froze, eyes narrowing. Then he raised his hands, palms out. "All right, you keep him for now. But don't think this is over, girl. A dog like that, he's worth more than you can imagine." He turned, retreating into the shadows. The depot swallowed him whole, but his words lingered like smoke. Harper's hands trembled against Kane's fur. She pressed her forehead to his side, whispering, "I won't let him take you. I promise." Kane licked her hair, as if sealing the vow. That night, Harper lay awake by the tracks, Kane steady breathing a comfort against the dark. But sleep didn't come. Every crack of wood, every whisper of wind carried Roy's threat. And somewhere deep inside, Harper knew, Roy wasn't the only one with claims on this dog. Grayford had its secrets. And Kane, with his scars and silence, carried more of them than she was ready to face. The town square Grayford always looked older than it was. Its bricks were chipped, its storefronts fading, its lampposts leaning as though weary of standing guard. Even the church bell seemed reluctant, dragging its tone across the cold morning air. Harper kept to the edges, Kane at her side, every step cautious. She knew eyes followed her, some curious, some suspicious, some cruel. People didn't forget, not in Grayford. And Harper had given them reasons. Mrs. Calloway from the diner muttered something sharp when Harper passed. The words floated after her like ash. "That girl's cursed, just like her mother." Harper pulled her hood low, her throat burning, and walked faster. Kane brushed against her leg, steady, grounding. His gaze swept the square as if measuring threats, protective in a way no human had ever been for her. She ducked into the general store. The scent of old wood, dust, and stale coffee pressed around her. Behind the counter, Mr. Thatcher glanced up, frown already in place. "You planning to pay this time, Harper?" His voice was sharp enough to cut. Harper tightened her grip on Kane's makeshift leash. "I've got money." She slid 2 crumpled bills onto the counter. Enough, maybe, for bread and apples. Nothing more. Mr. Thatcher eyed the shepherd. "You can't bring that animal in here." Kane growled under his breath, low, almost a warning. Harper stroked his neck. "He stays with me, or I leave." The silence thickened. Then Thatcher's wife emerged from back, her eyes softening when she saw Harper. "Let her be, Bill. Just ring her up." Harper exhaled, the smallest relief. But when she turned toward the shelves, she caught sight of something that made her chest clench. A notice board near the door, pinned beneath layers of faded flyers, an old photo. The photo was grainy, but clear enough. Kane, younger, healthier, sitting beside a man in a denim jacket. Written across the top in black marker, "Missing, reward offered." Her stomach dropped. The man in the picture. She recognized him. Roy. That night, Harper lit a small fire in a rusted tin drum behind the depot. The flames clawed at the darkness, painting Kane's scars an orange light. She fed him bits of bread, though she ate almost nothing herself. Her mind kept circling back to the flyer. Roy hadn't just stumbled upon them. He'd been looking. "Why you?" she whispered to Kane. What's in you that's worth money to him? Kane didn't answer, of course, but his ears twitched at every noise. And Harper noticed. He never lay with his back exposed, always facing outward, guarding. The fire popped, a spark leaping. Harper flinched, heart pounding. Kane stiffened, growling low. From the shadows beyond the fence, a figure stepped closer. Sheriff Eli Merrill. Relax, he said softly, hands raised. But Kane didn't relax. His teeth glinted in the firelight. Harper's voice was sharp. What do you want? Eli's eyes moved from her to the dog. You've got yourself in the middle of something, Harper. That animal isn't just a stray. She stood, fist tight. You think he belongs to Roy? He doesn't. Eli's jaw tightened. Roy Finch is a liar and a thief. But sometimes liars tell truths you don't want to hear. The flames cracked between them, throwing shadows across Eli's face. For a moment, Harper saw something flicker in his eyes, something haunted. You should come to the station tomorrow, he said finally. There are things you need to know about that dog, and about your uncle. Her blood ran cold. What about my uncle? But Eli only tipped his hat, turning back into the dark. Kane snarled until the sound of boots faded. Sleep was impossible. Harper lay curled against Kane, listening to his breathing, every nerve tight. Her uncle. Why had Eli said that? Her uncle, Frank Lang, was no saint. He drank too much. He carried his belt like a weapon. But secrets about a dog? That made no sense. Unless a sound cut through her thoughts. The crunch of gravel. Kane rose instantly, muscles coiled. Harper pushed herself upright, her pulse in her throat. Out of the dark, Roy appeared again. This time, not alone. Two men flanked him, rough-faced, carrying crowbars. Roy's grin gleamed in the firelight. Told you it wasn't over, girl. Kane barked, a thunderous sound that shook Harper's chest. Roy held up a hand. Easy now. Nobody has to get hurt. Just give me the dog. No, Harper said, her voice steadier than she felt. He's mine. Roy's smile curdled. You don't even know what you've got there. That shepherd. He was trained for more than guarding trash cans. He knows things. Things men would pay good money for. Kane's growl deepened. One of Roy's men shifted, gripping his crowbar tighter. Harper's heart hammered. Stay back, she warned, though her hands trembled. Roy stepped closer. You think he cares about you? He's just a weapon, girl. A tool. Same as your uncle used him. The word struck like a blade. Her uncle. Again. Kane lunged, teeth snapping inches from Roy's arm. The men stumbled back, cursing. Roy's grin returned, ugly and thin. You won't hold him forever. And when you slip, when you can't keep him fed, can't keep him safe, I'll be there. He retreated, his men following. Their footsteps vanished into the night, leaving only smoke and the echo of threat. Harper collapsed against Kane, her chest heaving. Her uncle, Roy, the sheriff. Everyone seemed to know more about this dog than she did. Kane pressed his head against her shoulder, warm, solid. But in his amber eyes, when she looked, she saw something else. Something that frightened her more than Roy's threats. Recognition. As though Kane knew exactly what Roy meant, and was waiting for her to understand. The morning broke pale and brittle. Frost clung to the depot roof, and the world felt scraped raw. Harper walked the road toward the sheriff's station, Kane keeping pace at her side. Every step was heavy. Roy's words from the night before gnawed at her. Her uncle, her mother, the dog. Somehow, all tangled together. The town seemed sharper, watching. Men leaned against storefronts. Women paused mid-conversation. Children pointed at the shepherd and whispered. Harper kept her eyes forward. She wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing her afraid. The sheriff's office smelled of stale coffee and cold iron. Eli Merrill sat behind his desk, sleeves rolled to his elbows, a file spread open before him. When Harper entered, Kane pressed close, hackles half raised. Eli studied them for a long moment. Then he said, "Shut the door." Harper obeyed, though her hands shook. Eli's gaze dropped to Kane. "You know who he is, don't you?" Harper shook her head. He's just a dog. No, Eli said quietly. He's evidence. Her breath caught. Evidence of what? Eli tapped the file. 3 years ago, there was a fire out at the Lang farm, your mother's farm. Harper stiffened. Her throat went dry. I remember. You remember the fire, Eli said, but do you remember what started it? She shook her head slowly. No one ever told me. Eli leaned back, his jaw tight. Official story was an accident, but I knew better. And so did your uncle. The words stung like nettles. My uncle? Eli's eyes hardened. Frank Lang wasn't just drinking that night. He was running something. Illegal fights, off-the-books training. Kane was part of it. A guard dog. A fighter. Harper's stomach twisted. That's not true. But Kane's scars told a different story. Eli's voice dropped lower. The fire didn't kill your mother. Your uncle did. He lit it to cover his tracks. And Kane was there. He saw it. Dogs remember more than people think. The room spun. Her uncle. The fire. Her mother. It couldn't be true. You're lying, Harper whispered. Eli slammed his hand on the desk. You think I want this? You think I like telling you your uncle's a murderer? I tried to prove it back then. Couldn't. Not without evidence. But now, his gaze fell to Kane. Now I have it. Harper wrapped her arms around Kane's neck. You're not taking him. Eli's expression shifted. Sorrow, anger, something darker. I don't want him as a pet, Harper. I need him to testify. Her laugh was bitter, cracked. He's a dog. Dogs don't testify. They remember smells, voices, faces. With the right training, he can point out the man who hurt him, the man who killed your mother. Her chest tightened. You'd use him like Roy would, like my uncle did, just another weapon. For the first time, Eli looked ashamed. I don't want to, but justice demands it. The station door creaked open. Harper turned and froze. Frank Lang stood in the doorway. Her uncle, his boots scraped the floor. His eyes, bloodshot and cold, locked on her. You've been busy, girl. Kane growled, deep and rumbling. Eli reached for his gun. Frank, don't. But Frank's sneer cut through the room. You shut your mouth, Marrow. Always sticking your nose where it don't belong. Harper's pulse thundered. Her uncle, the fire, the truth. Everything Eli said, could it be real? Tell me it isn't true, she whispered. Tell me you didn't kill her. Frank's face twitched. Then, slowly, he smiled. A cruel, jagged smile. Your mama was weak. Would have ruined everything. Someone had to stop her. The words shattered something inside her. Kane lunged, teeth bared, only Harper's hand keeping him back. Eli's gun leveled. Step away, Frank. But Frank moved faster. He drew a knife from his coat, gleaming in the office light, and with a roar, he charged. The room exploded into chaos. Eli shouted. Harper screamed. Kane tore free, a blur of fur and fury. The shepherd hit Frank full force, teeth sinking into his arm. The knife clattered to the floor. Frank bellowed, struggling, blood staining his sleeve. Kane, no! Harper cried, but it was too late. The dog's rage was a storm unleashed, years of scars and memory bursting free. Eli grabbed Harper, dragging her back. Don't interfere. Frank crashed into the desk, Kane's jaws locked, his howls mixing with Frank's screams. Then, with a final wrench, Frank collapsed, gasping, his arm shredded. Kane stood over him, chest heaving, eyes burning. But when Harper touched his fur, he stilled, panting, trembling. Eli kicked the knife away and cuffed Frank, pressing him face down. You're finished, he growled. Hours later, Grayford was quiet again. Frank sat bleeding in a cell. Eli filled out reports, his face carved from stone. Harper sat on the station steps, Kane leaning into her side. The night smelled of smoke and iron. The town hushed as though listening. You did it, she whispered to Kane. You remembered. You showed the truth. Kane's amber eyes caught the lamplight. For the first time, Harper thought she saw a piece there. Eli stepped outside, his hat in his hand. Your uncle will face trial. He won't hurt you again." Harper nodded faintly, but her chest was heavy. Justice didn't bring her mother back. It didn't erase the years of silence. Eli hesitated. "You'll need somewhere safe now. Somewhere that's yours." Harper stroked Kane's scarred neck. "I already have it." The wind rose, stirring leaves along the street. The depot, the fire, the blood, all of it seemed distant, fading into memory. Only the shepherd remained, steady, unyielding. Harper leaned close, whispering again the words that had begun everything. "Please don't leave me." Kane shifted, pressing his weight into her side. Not leaving. Not ever. And in that quiet, broken corner of Grayford, a girl and a scarred German shepherd finally found what neither had ever known: a home in each other.